Now let's talk about Retaliate itself, which is the ability that's buffed by this passive. In Retaliate, you assume an attack stance and pummel vigorously. A defensive posture which reduces incoming damage, an enhanced skill which causes even larger enemies to recoil. Whilst you are in Retaliate, all damage taken will be somewhat reduced, and in its base version, the initial defensive animation will transition into a headbutt that knocks smaller enemies down and causes larger ones to stagger or flinch. However, after taking enough damage, you will automatically receive a buff which changes this skill into a more powerful delayed uppercut with a much longer startup delay. Now, a few things to be aware of to make the most out of Retaliate. Don't worry, you can use the unupgraded version of the character skill as much as you want. In the background, over time, you will be charging up ready for the super powered version of Retaliate. It doesn't reset each time you use it. There's basically like a number in the background, and when that threshold is reached and you've taken enough damage, your next activation will automatically be the super powered version. So you don't need to save your Retaliate and only use the superpowered version. Use it pretty much every time it comes up, because it's got a relatively short cooldown and it's very powerful in both forms. And then the only thing that you really need to note about the more powerful version of Retaliate is it really is significantly slower to pull off, and it can be a lot more difficult to land, especially for enemies that don't stay in one place for very long. So instead, its powerful version against fast bosses should be used as a counter against slow enemy attacks. So when you see they are starting to wind up their attack, that's when you unleash Retaliate. You obviously will be hit in the face by their attack first, but don't worry, you're going to take far less damage than you normally would, and then you're going to follow it up with probably an instant stagger. Retaliate also makes Raider a fantastic class to take into solo, because you will be staggering enemies and taking very little damage every single time you spam this attack.